Welcome everyone to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling, well, a huge figure, Elon Musk. You probably know him, visionary disruptor, maybe, bit controversial. Chances are you've got some kind of take on him already. But what we want to do here in this deep dive is get past those headlines, really move beyond the usual narratives. We're going to explore some of the lesser known stuff, the things you don't always hear about his life and career. We've been digging into excerpts from Elon Musk, unveiling the enigmatic techno-king to hopefully get a more complete, maybe even surprising picture.
Exactly. And look, the goal isn't really to judge him, right? It's more about trying to understand, what were the experiences, the decisions? What are these sort of hidden details that shaped him into this person everyone talks about? What does it all tell us about ambition, resilience, maybe even the human side of all this innovation?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about some of the things we found, some genuine surprises in there. Hopefully you'll have a few aha moments with us and leave feeling, well, truly well-informed. Okay, so let's unpack this. And maybe the best place to start is right at the beginning, his childhood. The book uses this really striking phrase, calls him a human robot. As a kid, can you imagine? Like 10 years old, teaching himself programming, and then just 12, codes this whole space game, Blastar, sells it for $500. His own mom said he just had no facial expression sometimes. Doctors even tested him for deafness because he seemed so zoned out.
It's such a strong image, isn't it? Human robot, maybe a bit dramatic, sure, but it points to this intense focus, this almost singular drive from super early on.
Yeah.
What I find really fascinating there is how that early intensity, that focus, probably didn't just make him good at coding. It likely shaped his whole way of thinking, his approach to problems. It feels like it pushed him towards those huge, almost solitary bets later, like SpaceX, Neuralink, where he can just fully dive into the vision.
That's a really interesting connection. We hear about the genius, but not so much maybe the personality traits or the cost that enables that kind of focus. Does the book link that early intensity to how he manages later on, like his hands-on style?
Oh, absolutely. It suggests that early world he built for himself, finding comfort in logic and code. It laid the groundwork. Made him maybe skeptical of the usual way of doing things, wanting to work through problems himself, even these huge companies.
And it wasn't all just coding genius, right?
Yep.
There was some tough stuff too. Growing up in South Africa, the book mentions he was bullied pretty badly, actually thrown downstairs by bullies at school, broke his nose. He even needed surgery later to fix it.
Yeah, that's rough.
It creates such a contrast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Between this public image we have of him now, this unstoppable guy, and these, well, really vulnerable moments from his past.
It really does. And those kinds of experiences, especially when you're young, they often shape you fundamentally. Facing that kind of hardship, physical, emotional, it can build, an incredibly thick skin, real resilience, and maybe even a powerful drive to prove something. Not just to other people, but maybe even to himself.
Definitely. And speaking of hardship, before the billions, there was real struggle. When he started Zip2, his first company, he and his then-wife Justine were basically living in poverty, eating like $1 ramen for months. Can you imagine starting out like that?
Right. And it makes you ask, what does going through that right at the beginning of this huge entrepreneurial path actually teach you? About risk, about just sticking with it. For Musk, it seems like it might have made him comfortable operating right on the edge. Willing to push through really terrible situations gave him a real sense of what it means to bet everything. It's a world away from the billionaire image now.
Yeah, that kind of experience definitely recalibrates your definition of risk. Okay, from those early struggles, you can sort of see how they might have shaped his business approach, which, as it turns out, wasn't always smooth sailing either. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Some of these decisions nearly blew everything up. Take 2013. Tesla was like this close to bankruptcy. The book goes into how he was secretly negotiating to sell it off to Google. A fire sale, basically. $6 billion.
$6 billion, yeah. Which sounds like a lot, but for Tesla.
Exactly. For what Tesla became, pennies on the dollar. And it was only this last-minute surge in sales that, miraculously saved the company.
That specific story, the near sale to Google, it's more than just showing how thin the line is between massive success and total failure. It really gives you a sense of the kind of psychological pressure he operates under. Maybe it cemented that high-stakes gambler reputation he has. You have to wonder how staring into that abyss, almost losing Tesla, affected his later choices, pushed him maybe even harder.
Makes sense. And it's also kind of comforting, in a way, to know even someone like Musk has had, well, bad ideas. Before PayPal, apparently his worst business idea ever was an online flower delivery service.
No way. Flowers.
Yeah. He thankfully scrapped it pretty quickly, realized, and this is a quote, "People only buy flowers when they have to."
Huh, that's brilliant and kinda true.
That's definitely some humor in that, right? And it's relatable.
Yeah,
Even the giants have duds.
totally relatable. But what's also insightful there, beyond the chuckle, is the pragmatism, right? He saw it wasn't working, figured out why pretty fast the demand wasn't really there, and just moved on. That ability to cut your losses, learn quickly, even from a small thing, that's key.
True. But the regrets aren't just about small ideas he ditched. The book says his biggest regret. It isn't Twitter, which you might assume right now.
Oh, what is it then?
It's actually PayPal. He apparently admits firing their fraud team too early was his worst business mistake.
Mm.
Led to, like, over $200 million in scams.
Wow, $200 million.
Yeah.
That's a big one. And that really underscores the point that even the most successful people have these huge regrets, learn incredibly tough lessons, often really expensive ones. For Musk, losing that kind of money must have solidified that intense focus on risk he seems to have, that very hands-on approach to fixing problems, especially financial ones.
Mm.
It's learning from failure, constantly, even at that scale.
And then there's this other fascinating detail about Tesla. For someone who is Tesla in the public eye, he apparently hates being called CEO of Tesla.
Really, what does he prefer?
Well, his official title is actually Technoking, which started as a joke apparently, but it's legally his title.
Technoking. Okay.
He prefers just engineer. And get this, the book says he still personally reviews the resume of every single line worker hired at Tesla.
Every single one. That's intense.
Right. So what does that tell us about how he sees himself, his actual role in these huge companies?
It's a pretty amazing window into his self-perception, I think. Technoking might be playful, maybe a bit provocative, but engineer. That clearly feels like his core identity. It points to this really deep, almost obsessive, hands-on involvement. A belief that his real value isn't just steering the ship, but in the actual technical nuts and bolts. And reviewing every resume, that's an extreme version of that, showing this incredible focus on the very foundation of the company.
Okay, so beyond the business stuff, let's get into some of the more unexpected personal quirks, things that give us maybe a different angle. The book talks about these parties he used to throw back in the early 2000s at his mansion, called the Musk Foundation parties.
Oh, yeah. What were they like?
Apparently not your typical Silicon Valley bash. They were invite-only, sort of secret, almost like an underground sci-fi club. Guests would apparently get into serious debates about stuff like AI, colonizing Mars, aliens.
Huh. That actually fits, doesn't it? It shows this consistent intellectual curiosity, this desire to chew on the really big, speculative questions way beyond just business. It really underlines that his big ventures like SpaceX, they aren't just about finding a market. They seem deeply rooted in this philosophical drive to tackle huge human challenges, and it sounds like he was hashing those ideas out way back then.
And speaking of sci-fi becoming real, get this. He secretly owns the James Bond submarine car.
The Lotus Esprit from The Spy Who Loved Me.
That's the one. Bought it for $1 million. But here's the Musk twist.
Yeah.
His plan is to actually make it work. Turn it into a real functional submarine car.
Okay, now that is audacious. It's one thing to buy the prop.
Right. But to actually try and engineer it. It screams that sort of almost childlike wonder combined with serious engineering ambition.
Yeah, that's a perfect little anecdote, isn't it? It shows how his personal passions feed directly into his work. It's not just a cool toy, it's an engineering puzzle. It really highlights that belief he seems to have. If you can imagine it, maybe you can build it. That playful side seems to fuel the serious innovation.
Okay, maybe one of the weirdest, most head-spinning details in the book. His belief in simulation theory.
Ah, yes, the idea that reality isn't real.
Exactly. He apparently genuinely thinks we're all NPCs in a video game. Like the odds are 1 in billions, he says, that we're not in a simulation.
Right. It's a pretty mind-bending concept.
But here's the kicker. He believes that, but he doesn't really believe aliens probably exist. Finds that less likely.
Now that is fascinating. The specific way he approaches these huge existential questions, he embraces one incredibly radical idea, reality is fake, but dismisses another, more common sci-fi trope like alien life. You have to wonder how that core belief, that maybe this is all just code, affects his drive. If the world is a simulation, well, maybe the rules can be written. Does that fuel this immense ambition to push boundaries, to kind of upgrade the game?
It's a wild thought. Okay, and one final bonus fact the book throws in, kind of intriguing. With all the focus on his kids' very unique names like XA12 and Exadark Sidereal.
Uh-huh.
Turns out his first child with Grimes isn't actually either of them. There's a mystery third son. His name, even where he is, it's all kept private.
Really, a third one.
Yeah. Just a little reminder, I guess, of the layers, right?
Yeah.
The public persona versus the intensely private life, even for someone under that much scrutiny. Wow. Okay. So what a journey this deep dive has been, really, from, those early days, the struggles, the near disasters in business, all the way to these really unexpected personal beliefs and quirks.
Mm. Yeah.
It's definitely a more detailed picture of Elon Musk than you usually get.
Absolutely. I think pulling back the curtain on these lesser-known bits, it really does give you a richer, more nuanced view of, yeah, a very complex person. It shows that even these figures who seem almost larger than life, they're still shaped by vulnerability, by failure, and by these, kind of surprising passions that often drive their biggest moves.
So after hearing all this, maybe thinking about these hidden layers,
Yeah.
how does it maybe reframe your perception of Elon Musk? Or really of any major public figure you thought you knew? What does it actually mean for you to feel truly well-informed, beyond just the headlines and the quick takes?
Yeah, and maybe a final thought to leave you with. Knowing these details, these hidden depths, how might it shift your understanding of what it takes, the kind of drive, the huge risks, the sheer force of will needed not just to change industries, but maybe, just maybe, to live out dreams that seem utterly impossible to the rest of us?